Hey y'all, welcome back to Movement Link. So I want to talk about just the first inch of the deadlift, and we can learn a lot of things just from what we see happen to people during that first inch. So few things that happen, and once we kind of get past the setup issues, if someone's setting up well, there's two kind of main things that we see might happen in that first inch, or maybe leading up to starting to the first inch, that might cause a loss of position. So one of the main things we see is people set up. They've got a good setup position here, and as soon as they start to pull, their hips go without the bar. So sometimes it's just a lack of awareness. Most of the time it's a lack of quad strength. And this is going to show up in either doing too much squatting and deadlifting things with the toes up in the air. Maybe it's too far on the outside of the feet. Maybe it's just too much low bar back squat and never doing front squat, overhead squat, or high bar back squat. So it could be a lot of reasons why the quads aren't as strong, and the quads are the primary movers off of the ground, where the hamstrings and the butt are going to kind of kick in later, and we really need those to finish the lift off. But what we see is with weak quads or with a weak connection to the ground, but again, just like we talk about, when we see one issue somewhere, we see that issue everywhere. So if we see that toes up, weak quad position off the ground, we know that person is going to try and jam into the hamstrings because they don't have the quads to push off the ground. So that's kind of the mistake we mostly see coming off the ground, is people go and then they go, huh, and the hips go, and then they're kind of just pulling with hamstrings and back, which is fine. That might be the way to pull the most weight right now today, but with that angle so far bent over, your core is going to give out. You're not going to be able to hold any significant amount of weight at that angle. So that's why we see all the best deadlifters in the world still deadlift with those vertical shins, but with an angle that's much more manageable with heavy loads just from leverages. So that's the main thing, is we're looking for, can we maintain position in that first inch, or are we just jamming, looking for the hamstrings and shooting that butt up and leaving kind of the bar behind? The other issue we see is we get out of position just because we haven't gotten the slack out of the system yet. So if I just come down and I'm just willy-nilly kind of setting up here, and then I start to pull, I haven't created any tension in the system. So what's going to happen is as soon as I pull, now my body is going to be shifting around, looking for the tightness and looking for the positions before I can actually do anything real effective onto the bar. So part of the setup too is just going to be maintaining that back angle. We pressurize up here with that breath. We're going to maintain that back angle, and then as I set up, I'm already pulling on that bar. So now when I go, there's no looking for tension in the first inch, it just moves. So we want your hips, the bar, your shoulders moving as one piece. If you're someone who struggles with that, don't just think, oh, I struggle with that. Think, why do you struggle with it? A lot of times that first inch, it's all about the quads, and if we haven't developed the quads, it's not just going over and doing a bunch of leg raises and stuff like that. Leg extensions. It's going to be about, let's figure out why your quads are lagging behind, and they're probably lagging behind because we're not really using them in most of the exercises. A lot of times it just has to do with that foot pressure. What we see is people lacking in the quads or too far back on their heels, too far outside on the side of the foot. Again, too far on the toes and inside of the foot, that causes other problems. So we want to be full foot. That way we get a nice balance of everything. So check in on that first inch. It'll tell you a lot about your body. It'll tell you how you can kind of tweak your technique, improve your training, and those numbers are going to skyrocket when you actually have quads to join in with your already super dominant and strong hamstrings and butt. Hope that helps. Talk to you soon.